Hello everyone, this is Josh with Ohio Urban Legends. Today I'm in Columbiana County in the East Liverpool area at Beaver Creek State Park, checking out both Gretchen's Lock and Jake's Lock. Have you heard about either of these? You might have heard about Beaver Creek State Park and maybe the locks that are here, but you know the urban legends that follow them. Please like and subscribe for more Ohio urban legends and cemetery stories. Before we begin, let's briefly talk about the canals and lock systems throughout Ohio. Before the major roads and railroads took off, locals would use the rivers trading commerce or traveling to get up and down parts of Ohio. The locks were used to help raise boats up or down, matching the height of the river. Keep in mind the rivers, locks, canals, these were miles and miles long, connecting cities and states. The locks here were part of the Sandy and Beaver Creek Canal system constructed in the 1800s. You can still see a lot of these locks and even explore them all throughout Ohio and even here at Beaver Creek State Park. It's amazing Ohio history. Okay, well, what's the story about Gretchen's Lock? Let's review how this urban legend got started. Edward Gill, and some have him as Hans, we're just going to stick with Edward for our story, his wife and their daughter Gretchen set sail from the United States from Europe. Gill was an engineer that would be working on the lock system. During their sail over, his wife died and they buried her at sea. Edward and Gretchen finished their way to Ohio, where Edward would begin working on the canal and lock system. Not long after, Gretchen contracted malaria and died. A heartbroken father, Edward entombed Gretchen in her coffin within the locks. When his work was completed, he removed her coffin from the lock and set sail back to Europe, where he buried Gretchen at sea with her mother. Another version of this is that on the venture back to Europe, the ship was lost at sea and neither was to ever be seen again. Some versions of the story is that her burial site is still within the locks and wasn't transported back overseas. Interesting. As for the haunted portion of the story, Gretchen's ghost has been seen around the park, particularly around the anniversary of either her death or her mother's death. You might even hear her calling out, maybe hear her crying, or you might just hear strange noises. Sounds like our kind of story. But was it real? Well, sort of. There was an Edward Gill. He did have a wife, but there's no record of him having a daughter, no Gretchen. Edward also wasn't born in the United States, but he traveled here when he was very young, possibly from Ireland. He and his dad helped work on the Erie Canal when Edward was in his 20s. With his engineering experience from the Erie Canal, he was brought in for the first phase of the new locks here in East Liverpool. The idea was linking more canals and cities all throughout Ohio and now into Pennsylvania. But a financial crisis hit, and Edward and his wife left the project and they moved to Virginia to work on the railroads. That's it. That's the story. So how did it become Gretchen's Lock? An urban legend happened. A true ghost story created out of nothing. The story became so big they named the lock after an urban legend. How cool is that? There's even an annual Gretchen Fest, and there was a movie made about the haunted lock. If you do happen to visit, please be respectful of the area here. The lock experienced damage over the years where people were looking for the coffin, and again, there was nobody entombed or buried within the lock. It's fun to explore and maybe capture your own paranormal experience. Like all urban legends, it's fun continually passing along the story. As for Jake's Lock, the story is like the story around the Lake Hope Iron Furnace urban legend. If you're unfamiliar with that one, we have a video on that, check it out. Jake was a local caretaker in the area. One night, carrying his lantern during his night watch, he was struck by lightning, fell into one of the locks and died. People have seen his ghost carrying around a lantern walking around the locks down here, especially during storms, almost if he was still on duty. Other people have mentioned losing all electric signals or hearing strange noises, so keep your eyes and ears out when you're venturing around. Have you been to this area and experienced anything paranormal? The cool part of this location is that there are more Ohio urban legends to explore, so make sure you're subscribed to our channel to hear more stories. Once again, thanks to Cow & Leather, one of our sponsors. Thanks for watching. Talk to y'all soon.